Hello! I could introduce myself to you this instant, say my name and be off. But that doesn't seem interesting, does it? So, how about something creative? And for you to truly know me, allow me to draw my life. I am a geek, a genuine and absolute geek. I wear thick glasses and use words of many syllables. I always have a book on me, partly for ballast, partly out of a deadly fear that I will be marooned in a sea of traffic with nothing to read. I learned to read at an early age, a sure symptom of geekness. My early days in literature leaned towards Little Red Riding Hood, which I read aloud in different voices. Grandma, what big ears you have! And The Little Mermaid, which now I think about it, is pretty gruesome for a bedtime story. The mermaid let the sea witch cut off her tongue so she would look like an ordinary person and get near that stupid prince who was in love with some other goody-two-shoes princess. Much of my childhood was spent reading DC Comics, which served as substitute playmates. Then as now, I loathed physical exercise and was a klutz and being lousy at habulan and patintero and probably any physical activity, I tried as best I can to keep to myself. In grade school, my lunch hours were spent prowling the library. This did not make me terribly popular or increase my circle of friends. Around the time, I was already recognized as a resident geek. One good thing that came of being the official school geek was that the principal gave me a copy of Edith Hamilton's Mythology. For some time, it was my favorite book. I could rattle off the names of all the Greek divinities, plus the major royal houses. I still have the book. At St. Teresa's, it was hip to read the Nancy Drew Mysteries by Caroline King. I still get a kick out of seeing the Forever 18, Pigeon-haired, and convertible driving girl on bookstore shelves. At 7 times the price I bought my copies for. By the way, did Nancy ever marry Ned Nickerson? Did Bess ever lose weight? Did anyone ever graduate from college? For more serious literary enjoyment, I kept my mom's ratty copy of Cyrano de Bergerac under my mattress. To this day, I cannot pass a book sale without buying a copy of Cyrano. It pains me to see it unread. If we are indeed molded by the books we read as kids, then I was molded by books in English. Okay, let me have it. Call me a little brown American. Accuse me of colonial mentality. But books in Filipino were just not that common in my household, so my exposure to them were limited. In 6th grade, while my classmates were discovering that there was another gender called boys, I was reading the John Porter of Mars series by Edgar Rice Burroughs. Those books got me started on science fiction. Teleportation and parallel universes were simply compared to puberty. What was acne anyway, in the scheme of the universe? Mr. Spock never mentioned pimples in the James Blish Star Trek books. Therefore, it was irrational to worry about the vile eruptions on my face. The trouble with me was, I believed what my teachers taught me. I trusted in their version of the world, in which, as one teacher so quaintly put it, beauty is useless, character is the best. Boy, was I wrong. I learned in freshman year at a co-educational high school that the universe is not so kind to fat, pimply kids. That it was a school exclusively for geeks didn't make a difference. All 13-year-old boys reserve a special kind of cruelty for 12-year-old girls with braids, glasses, zits, and weight problems. They oink! Which is funny if you think about it, but not if you're the 12-year-old girl. In retaliation, I wrote stories in which my tormentors, especially a particularly obnoxious vermin named Stevie, whose name I still cannot pronounce without reaching for a rusty cleaver, appeared as genetic mutations. One would think that a geek would find happiness in a school designed for geeks. Unfortunately, these geeks were of the scientific sort. I was in literature for the first time, and you cannot know what a blow it was to me. I did not get good grades. Who am I kidding? I barely passed chemistry, physics, and math. English I was great at, but the humanities were secondary concerns. Second year high remains one of the pits in my history. It is only appropriate that it was the year I went through Harold Robbins, Sidney Sheldon, Judith Krantz, and Robert Ludlum. In their novels, all the men are rich and all the women are beautiful. No one can appreciate beauty as much as those who don't have it. Critics sharpen their axes when Krantz et al. Have new books out. They have reason to. Krantz et al. Are awful. Their one redeeming quality is that they allow the reader to escape dreary reality and clink champagne glasses on yachts on the Riviera. Nonetheless, those moronic books kept me sane. They also steered me towards serious lit. Once you've read too many trashy bestsellers, you begin to look around for something with substance, something that attempts to define the universe. In junior year, my literary geekhood was rewarded with editorship of the school paper. I began to read some truly good books: Kurt Vonnegut, John Steinbeck. I discovered Woody Allen movies and his books, Without Feathers and Getting Even. And in senior year, I was rewarded for my fortitude. In senior year, I discovered that I was not alone. In every school, there are people who read good books that were not necessarily assigned by their teachers, who talk about these books during lunch and scribble poetry and short stories in their math notebooks. I did not find these people until senior year in high school when they took the editorial exams. We literary geeks got together and ran the school paper. From then on, I could be as geeky as I wanted. I could wallow in geekiness. I could say anything and know that I was understood. I could talk about books that knocked me flat, and I know I wasn't boring them into a coma. That year, I read The Great Gatsby. The result was, I wanted to be F. Scott Fitzgerald. I wanted to ride hilariously drunk on top of a vegetable cart through the streets of Paris at midnight. I wanted to jump fully clothed into the fountain at the Ritz. I wanted to prowl New York's speakeasies and never get enough sleep. On F. Scott Fitzgerald's birthday, I actually ordered a birthday cake. To the detriment of my already embarrassing academic standing, except of course in English, I read everything I could get my hands on. I read on the bus, at home, in laboratory class. I literally forgot to eat and lost, as any member of class 82, 50 pounds. In place of calculus, I read The World According to Garp, which was borrowed so often that John Irving's words began to creep into our speech. ARP, WC, Ellen Jameson. I first took the physics textbook for Tess of the Urbanvilles, the chemistry manual for The Catcher in the Rye. I liked Catcher, but I did not fully appreciate it until I read it again in college. Rereading Salinger, I felt like Archimedes shouting Eureka and dashing out of his bathtub, stark naked into the street of Athens. Is that story true? I wound up writing my undergraduate thesis on J.D. Salinger. Our preoccupation with literature wasn't exactly great for the school paper we had been assigned to produce. It was always terribly late, and the articles appeared to have been thrown together with no regard for cohesion. Except for one page of news and one page of sports, the paper was a motley assortment of rambling book reviews, science fiction ravings, and whatever the editors were into lately. But we had a good time. We were geeks together. We belonged. I learned that not being popular is not bad, and that the people who make fun of those who read are doomed to illiterate. In college, I majored in comparative literature, and to be a geek in the CL course was the norm. Yes, it's true that you can't learn everything from books, but you do learn something about everything. Trust me.